Finland, that was a very, very positive source of documents, a very positive pipeline. Because Finns, Finland was a neutral country, and it was much easier for Finns to come and go, and people from Helsinki would go across to Leningrad for the weekend. Lithuania was a very potent source of documents about the Catholic Church in Lithuania, which was undergoing terrible trials, imprisonment of all the bishops, most of the priests. It was the 1970s were terrible years for the Lithuanian Church. I was in Moscow, and on my very first day I heard that there had been an attack against one of the churches. The Church of St. Peter and St. Paul had been destroyed, blown up, because they wanted to allegedly extend the metro, the subway. And this church, which could quite easily have had the subway going underneath it, they just destroyed the church in order to build a subway station in the space. And there was tremendous fuss about it. I went to look at the church, and I saw the ruins, and I met on that very spot some people whom I got to know. I talked to them afterwards, not at the square, because the square was being, the ruins of the church were being observed by the KGB the whole time. I met up with these people afterwards, and they had a pile of documents, and they said to me, first of all, they seemed to be afraid to talk. And I said, if you don't want to talk to me, it's all right. I'll go away. You'll never hear from me again. And they said, but who are you? And I said, I'm a young person come from England, wanting to find out more about persecution. And one of the women smiled all over her face, put her hand on my shoulder, and she said, "We are not afraid, we need you." And they took me away into the suburbs and up into the house of a friend of theirs, and they had these documents. But there was more to the story than that, because I had already heard from some friends in Paris. They'd received another lot of documents. These were from the Orthodox Church in Ukraine. And I'd heard about these documents recounting the persecution of the church in Ukraine before I came. And so I had the names of these of the authors of the documents in my mind. And when it transpired that they had documents for me, it turned out to be 3 women, they said, will you take the documents? I said yes. I didn't know what else I could do, really, in those circumstances. I'd be letting them down if I said no. And the amazing thing was that the women turned out to be the same ones who had written the documents that I already knew about. And a chance in a million brought us together at that particular point. My first day in Moscow, their first day coming from Ukraine to Moscow, and I ended up with a great load of documents which I had to take out. Well, here's a very significant way that a whole bunch of documents got out. Again, it's the Lithuanians who were absolutely outstanding. They produced a memorandum, as they called it, signed by 17,000 people on about 150 individual sheets of paper, the same document, but with signatures on the back. It had been distributed around the churches in Lithuania, gathered together by a very active young priest who was later going to go to prison for what he'd done. He gave the documents to a young girl called Nioli Sadunaiti. She took this bunch of documents in a briefcase to Moscow. The document was addressed to the Central Committee of the Communist Party, and she decided on the way that if she handed it over to the Communist Party, that document would disappear. It would probably be destroyed, certainly never properly read. And she took the unilateral decision to hold on to the document and to look for somebody who might take it out. And she met a Western journalist, high profile, who decided he could not possibly take it out. He would have been arrested and probably never allowed back into Russia. He found had a friend in the British embassy, an attaché at the embassy. He handed the document to an attaché, and the document by this time was addressed to me. I don't quite know who put my name on it, but it then came back through the diplomatic bag, and that was strictly against the protocol. But the British Embassy is now very proud of the role that it played in getting that document to me, because we had an event in Lithuania just a couple of months ago celebrating the one document that has ever been taken from our collection and given back to the original writers of that document was this from Lithuania. It is the founding document of Lithuanian religious freedom, and I took it to Kaunas in Lithuania this summer and handed it back. And we have now got a duplicate of the document, scientifically made, and that is in our archive.